Can anyone tell me what STEM is?
Huh?
What's STEM?
S is for science, T is for technology,
So far it's,
Science, technology.
and the E is
engineering,
math.
E is for engineering, and M is for math.
Yay!
Well, to me, I think they're probably the four most important things for our future.
STEM is really an interdisciplinary look or approach to teaching math, science, technology, and engineering, all within the context of application. It actually allows you to look at a problem and use those concepts to try to help understand it and actually solve it.
This country is embroiled in a long-term crisis of falling rankings in terms of science and mathematics. And the number of students choosing engineering is much lower in this country than, for instance, in China.
One of the corporations that our students go to work for has told us that they're about to retire more engineers than there are engineers in our country to replace them.
We need engineers. We need excitement about that profession. And I think robotics provides one of the avenues to get us there.
Children are naturally interested in robots.
The thought of just like being in robotics like really interested me, and like how can robots not be fun?
A scene bot is a robot that is created by students, for students.
SceneBot has been developed by the Computer and Electronics Engineering Department at the Peter Kiewit Institute. It also has been then refined with input from the College of Education faculty here at UNO. So it really has been a team effort to help make the platform as accessible and as usable as possible for the public schools.
What can we do that can give our teachers an edge in terms of stimulating their students?
Through the collaboration, working with UNO and UNL, it excites you about being a teacher. And when you're excited about a program, then you are able to take that excitement into the classroom.
Teachers themselves have helped design the curriculum. This curriculum is online. There's more than 300 lessons and other resources available online nationwide, so anybody can access this free of charge.
They love to teach it, and they were really excited to show us what we can do with the robots.
They get to have fun along with us.
The problem that's being solved by teaching students robotics is basically the process to solve a problem, how to address a problem. The students, they have this robot. This is something that's man-made, something that basically you are in charge of. You can have this thing do whatever you want it to do, and it's similar to their own lives, honestly, when you think about it, because we are in charge of our own lives. We have to take responsibility.
The Nebraska Robotics Expo is really a place for students to be able to come and show off some of the things that they've learned, whether it's an after-school activity or during their school activity, in teams, in cooperation, to be able to show off their STEM components with robotics.
The Robotics Expo includes 4 competition events that you will see with the SceneBot robot platform.
The first contest that they actually can sign up for is the ball course.
We are doing the ball course, or the gather the animals, where you scoop up the animals.
They actually have to take animals and all their parts, branding irons and feed, and get them up to the second level all in 5 minutes.
Gathering the animals, we had a tissue box and an eraser. We super glued it together and put it on the back of the robot.
The second event that they can sign up for is actually navigation. They're going to have to take straw bales from a distribution point and take them out to places in the field.
You have to look at the 4 iPad screens and direct your robot from there.
So they'll have to navigate looking into screens, kind of like our true astronauts do here looking up on Mars, because they control the rovers, but they don't necessarily see the rovers. The third event they can sign up for is actually foosball. There's 3 scene bots on 3 scene bots.
I did pretty good in foosball. On my first game I did 1 score, and then on my second I did 2. I am proud of myself.
The fourth event they can sign up for is autonomous. They have actually 3 different courses.
And with each of those you had to program them, which took a lot of time and math.
One of the really aha moments for the kids is when they go to the test course and their robot doesn't do what they think it's going to do. And then they really dig in.
They observe and they watch what all the teams are doing, and their ideas are just popping inside their mind.
What's really exciting is when you hear the cheers grow up and the crowd gets loud and everybody's cheering for the robots. It's just really exciting.
It gives them a sense of, hey, I can really do this. This is interesting. What will this lead to? It opens their minds up to other possibilities.
Where else am I going to do this kind of stuff, especially when I'm not involved in anything like this? And it's simple and it's a good start. And if I were going to get into technology, this is where it would probably start.
The thing that I've learned the most and I'm the most proud of is I gave something a chance.
This is something that they all are really excited about because they know robots are very technical. They know that it involves a lot of engineering, a lot of smart minds in a sense, people who they always feel like they're smarter than me. But realize, look what you just did with that robot. So you're capable of doing these same type of things. You did this. You did this. So take that to your own personal life about whatever it is that you want to go towards. If you were capable of programming a robot, and it may just be that 8th grade, but one time programming a robot, I think you're pretty confident that you could do other things in life as well.
We have in the next few decades a changing demographic. The majority of students that will be coming of age are going to be people of color. And unless we begin to do something to change the way that we have more and more of our students interested in the STEM areas, we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Project Lead the Way is an engineering program that's a nationally recognized program in the area of engineering. It was developed by a group of engineers that were looking at what was happening in engineering was that the nation was not producing engineers. So what it did was to look at curricular offerings for students in the area of engineering, and it also looks at how to get more students both on the side of females and minority students involved in engineering as well. It can't be just about white males in engineering either. It has to look differently than that, and especially has to look differently than that here in Omaha North.
This entire building was done by student design. It was a project that was started by a group of engineering students, and they specifically designated both media tech and engineering to have their own areas and asked the students and the teachers, what do you guys want?
I thought the biggest problem, frankly, was the fact that we were a community of learners, but we weren't really together in a building area.
There was a lot of running back and forth, like if we needed to cut something or get supplies, we had to go downstairs to the shop, look around in there, and then come back up to class.
The second problem was that a lot of our students had worked on a lot of different projects that they viewed were projects that could affect change in our city.
Each year, our students have a project, a long-term project, usually community-based, which they work on from October until April.
But they were never seeing anything become a reality. Those two things said, let's try to do something about it.
The students had an idea. They had this grand idea to create this new facility for engineering and design.
That would consolidate all of the rooms and all of the classes into one big group.
And they came up with this scheme to create this addition on the building that houses architectural engineering, biology, and media.
The kids, it was really our students that said, okay, well, let's just build a building. That sounds pretty easy, let's just do that.
And so they made their pitch first to Doc, their instructor. The engineering kids did, as part of one of their assignments.
I said, go to Mr. Haynes and see what he says. And he came out of the main office, went across the hall, looked out the window at the parking lot above which we now sit, and said, well, why don't you build it there?
And then from there, it really had this grassroots effort to find funding to support this thing. One of the things that the students and the teachers wanted was this to be, the building itself to be a learning opportunity, not just the way that the building was constructed, and that being an awesome opportunity for students to learn about construction, design, and engineering as this grew out of the ground, but also just understanding the way a building functions by exposing its parts. And so a lot of what you see is raw concrete floors, raw steel, raw electrical conduit, lighting, steel decking. And this not only really kind of aided in the building as an educational tool, but also it really helped when it came to sustainability.
I like the freedom that we have here.
Your environment, your atmosphere is everything.
I really like how it's open and a lot of natural light.
I'd say it fosters more of like a communal thing, because most of our engineering projects are team projects.
Things are a lot convenient. There's a workshop right next to our class.
The conference center downstairs, which is the room that my class is held in for the seniors and juniors.
So tables are together, we face each other.
We have more advanced technology in here. We Skype monthly with this lady from MIT.
We have a projector in there, we have conference call capabilities, so we can talk to the people we need to as a group.
We use the projector and the computers, and our whole class Skypes with her at one time.
I'd say it's a lot cleaner now. I don't know, it's just a healthier work environment.
The greenhouse and the roof is pretty nice.
And we have the lights that turn off to save energy. Just the whole entire atmosphere is a little bit more organized, newer than the rest of the building.
This site is in the middle of a neighborhood. When you look out to the west, you're looking over rooftops. So we had to be really sensitive to that aspect.
We brought the neighbors in and explained to them our mission, and what we wish to do is to have another bright spot in the neighborhood, and we wanted them to be our partners.
People around us started cleaning up their yards and having a different sense of pride in their place.
One of the biggest things for me personally that's special about this whole endeavor is the fact that it got done. That in itself is an amazing feat when you think about it. An idea that stems from the kids, the students, and ends up growing and becoming reality.
Oh, it's amazing because not only is it showing the community what our engineering program is and the rest of the school that our engineering program is worth seeing, but it's also kind of cool to be in a building that students who went to North designed, and it shows that as students we can do pretty much anything and we can make a difference in the community and at our school. And it's really awesome.
STEM is really, at its heart, really about problems and solving problems. How do we bring different disciplines together so that the problem is solved, it's better understood, and then others can learn from what we do in order to solve those problems. So when we do STEM, we actually are modeling what really happens in the professions today.
Well, you know, any small town was formed along a creek for a water source. And this creek, as far as I know, was never used to provide a lumber mill or a feed mill or a grist mill, but it provided a water source. It was a place for the people to congregate. I mean, the creek was where the town was formed.
This is my home territory. I grew up on the Shale Creek northwest of Newman Grove, and it's always been our creek. My brother and I, we spent oodles of time on the Shale Creek, and probably more than we should have, according to my mom, but we grew up less than a mile away from the Shale Creek.
The Shale Creek Watershed project has always been part of our school.
We started the Shale Creek Watershed project back in 2002.
Farming systems over the years have really evolved into pretty much a corn-soybean rotation. Now, corn and soybeans are very important crops in our country. But on the other hand, soybeans are probably the worst crop we can raise as far as soil erosion is concerned.
We could see an increased erosion and flooding problem, and we just got together and decided that we ought to do something about it.
They wanted to try and make some improvements in the farming practices along the Shale Creek, and they felt the only way that they could know whether improvements were being made is if you know where you're at now. So we started out collecting baseline data, and since they liked the baseline data and what we were doing, they asked if we would continue. It's strictly a summer program, completely voluntary. We take 2 days at the end of May.
One of the first stages we go through when we first start in the month of May is teaching, because we had a lot of new newbies is what we call them this year. So we had to teach them all the different tests we do, how to run the tests, making sure they do the right procedures.
And then we take 2 days in June, 2 days in July, and 2 days just before school starts in August. And that way we've got a full summer's scope of information.
When I came to help load the vans, they're getting out these hip waders that come up to their chest, rubber boots, gloves, and long extensions, and then they get into the creek, and that's where they are. They're in the creek, and that was amazing to me.
My biggest responsibility is usually keeping track of data and running the chemical tests.
Yeah, we have 9 different chemical tests that we do.
Dissolved oxygen. We have biological oxygen demand needs to be done.
Nitrates, phosphates.
I'm the nitrate guru, have been since I started.
We've got fecal coliform tests.
pH, turbidity.
There are 9 tests to a standard called a water quality index number, and that says whether the water is poor quality, fair quality, good quality, or excellent quality.
To see these kids working out here, that's really, that's the best part.
The first impression I had with this was it was amazing what the kids were willing to do, that they were here on their own voluntary reasons, and they are not afraid to get in the water, to get dirty, and they have a lot of fun.
It means a lot to have my grandfather by my side.
This is my third granddaughter. That my oldest granddaughter on my son's side, she was in the original one. Brooke this is her thing, and she couldn't wait to get started. As a summer program, you'd think that, well, they can find something better to do, but it's not. This is their thing. It's a badge of honor.
I'm definitely going to be back next year after I graduate and be still continuing the project.
People appreciate what I do, and it's fun. There's a lot of memories that we make here, and it's just a good thing to be a part of.
It means a lot to me to be able to give back and to do my part in making a difference.
They put on a program at the community center, and we might have 80 people there watching. I mean, it's really a really good thing to see the community come together for a common purpose.
I think it's helped a lot of the farmers to figure out where all of their soil's going and different aspects like that. It really helps when the community listens to us, and it's when you walk into our city cafe or you walk into the grocery store and, oh, how's the water sampling going? And that really, really makes you feel like you're doing something special.
The changes in the students, they've gained confidence, and they can do this, and we can do this, and we will do this.
Most science is learned in classrooms. And unfortunately, most science is learned out of cookbook labs where we already know what the answers are going to be before we ever start the lab. And that stuff needs to be done. It does. To learn the concept, to learn the technique, we do need to be in the classroom to learn the concepts. But if you're ever going to get students excited about science, they have to be out and do it and discover things that are not known yet.
Traditionally, science isn't taught much at the elementary level. There's a variety of reasons for that. In order to teach science well on the elementary level, you have to have a very strong background in science because it has to be concrete. Not all of them have the ability for abstract thought yet, so they can't picture the molecules in their head. You have to build them with their hands and literally draw pictures and make models. Everything I do is hands-on.
The problem we're really trying to solve here is helping kids get excited about learning, particularly learning disciplines of math, science, technology, engineering, but in ways that actually help them see the relevance of what they're learning.
One of the kids said to me one day, "How come we don't recycle here at Lothrop?" And I said, "Well, as far as I know, we can't." And so then I started to feel like a hypocrite. If I'm teaching them how important environmental issues are and I recycle at home, then we should be doing something here.
Well, first of all, I didn't even know they recycled. So one time I threw away everything in the trash, which was a little bit scary.
We started very small and we built our program up. So we did paper, and every room from early childhood to the principal's office, everybody has a paper recycling box in their room. And so in the morning,
we go around in classrooms like this big garbage can, but it's like a recycling bin. And we go around all the classrooms, dunk the paper in the air.
They have 15 minutes. They're only allowed 15 minutes to do this, and they need to be back in class. We recycle the milk bottles in the cafeteria that are served at lunch and breakfast.
If we drink some of it but don't drink the rest, they'll make you pour it in this basket, and then they'll dump it in the sink, and then you could recycle the milk carton.
The juice boxes that are served at breakfast, we collect those, and currently we're saving those. We open them up and rinse them out, and Lawrence and Garden will be using those as planters, because even better than recycling stuff is using it before you recycle it.
And then we have also carts. On the bottom, there's a little shelf that has a bucket on it. That's the compost bin.
Like in the compost, we have Jell-O, vegetables, bread.
No animal products can go down there because it makes it stink.
When we first started, we thought it was going to be really hard. We have kids that are 4 to 10, and we just thought that we weren't sure we could teach them what can be composted, what you can collect. But again, kids are capable of learning so much more than we give them credit for. And it took 2 days.
And then on the top, there's a pile for trays. And we also have the lids and pull tabs. Those also get recycled with the bottles.
We have green leadership teams that are composed of 4th graders, and the goal is for them to set up the program for that year and make any changes that are necessary. They run the program for the year up until 2nd semester.
4th graders are leaving the building and going on to middle school. We need to teach the 3rd graders, show them how to do the milk recycling, carry on the right recycling. Because we don't want to lose recycling forever at this school.
So the 3rd graders then as 4th graders will take over, so that's how we make our program sustainable. And if we develop healthy habits now, they'll follow them throughout life.
Well, I came to Lothrop, and then they put me in a leadership team. So then I told my mom to start recycling, so now we get recycling bins.
At home last night, I gathered a few watches and batteries that were pretty old. I brought them in today. I have a little sister named Vicky, and she's going to be 5 in April. She has gotten used to recycling since I taught her.
In fact, they get so militant about the recycling that when we do go on field trips, the kids notice that people were throwing out aluminum cans and plastic bottles, and they just became furious about it. I want to teach my kids that you have to follow the rules, but when you don't like something or you see something that's wrong, you make a lot of noise. So we wrote to the people who were in charge of it, and we said,
I'll tell them we should recycle like Lothrop.
So they put pressure on them to try and get them to change.
It makes me feel happy that we're helping the planet and keeping God's planet safe and clean. It makes me really proud. It makes me happy to recycle. It makes me feel responsible because I need to be responsible if I want to do it.
It's the adults that put limits on children. Children don't come with limits already stamped on their forehead. We assume that there's things that they can't learn.
When you see really successful after-school programs, they bring in strong community partners that can work hand in hand with the leadership of schools to provide enriching, engaging, hands-on experiences.
Teaching STEM to students provides an opportunity for students to learn outside of the normal classroom setting in after-school programs, science clubs, math clubs, because a lot of times teachers who are involved in it, they have their course class. So it's a matter of trying to find time to use it.
Many of the things that we're doing in STEM actually has partnerships from across Nebraska. We do a lot with 4-H. We do a lot with Strategic Air and Space Museum and informal education agencies.
They get to apply things that they've learned in particular classes in activities, in challenges, in projects, whereas they can bring in the science concepts, they can bring in the technology concepts, engineering concepts, and the mathematics concepts to everyday real-world situations.
So that those hours after school aren't just an afterthought, but are intentional and well-structured programs that meet youth needs.
I've often said, my motto in education the last number of years has been that we're spending a lot of time and effort chopping the wood. And in my estimation, we're spending so little time lighting the fires. And all that chopped wood is wasted if we don't spend time out here like this lighting the fires.
I'm a freshman and I would like to be an architectural engineer when I grow up.
I might want to be an architect or possibly even an engineer myself.
I'm studying civil engineering and architecture.
I come to find out that I really liked engineering after going through a couple classes here. I'm going to stick through the courses all the way to the end of my high school career.
I'm really considering biomedicine and just even getting a minor in agronomy or something with agriculture.
Ultimately, we want to encourage them to pursue these careers in STEM. That is what we need for our future, and a lot of students turn off to these subjects early on, and if we can get them excited about learning basic science and math and see the vision of what they can do with it, it lights a fire to say, hey, I want to do this. There's nothing, nothing like that.